Ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. Welcome, everybody. This is the second episode of the Canuckleheads podcast. My name is Justin, joined by Mr. West, as always. And we got some stuff to go over this episode. We got a historic game, a couple of historic Canucks contracts, and just a couple of general things to talk about in Canucks world. Wes?
All right, so obviously a big thing is that we're going to have way better audio quality and video quality in the upcoming videos. I want you guys to be excited for that. It won't always be this quality. Like we said in the first episode, we were kind of just throwing something up quickly so that we could start before the season started there. So that'll all be updated and better for you guys that are viewing. And thank you guys very much for the support that we got on the first one. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was a lot more than either of us expected. New dog in the studio for people listening. So if you hear some dog-like noises, that's what's going on. He's in the process of being trained right now, so just bear with us for an episode or two here. But official Canuckleheads mascot, Mr. Bubs. Welcome, Mr. Bubs. So the very first thing we should go over is the contracts.
Yes,
Quinn
sir.
Hughes, Elias Pettersson, both signed. I think they were done Thursday, but officially announced Sunday, the 3rd of October.
Yeah.
So Quinn Hughes is now the highest paid player on the roster, the richest contract in Vancouver Canucks history, and what I think will ultimately look like a hell of a deal as soon as the end of this year.
100%. I feel like that was a big signing. We needed to get it done. He's the most offensive defenseman, so we had to get him paid.
He signed 6 years, 7.75, I believe.
Yeah.
And, yeah, both these guys, Petey used a 3-year bridge at 7.7. 7.3, actually. So I think that if you would ask me when the contract talk started like at middle of the season last year, if we got either of these guys under 9, I would have thought those were pretty fair contracts. So to get them at both under 8 is crazy.
Yeah, it's a good deal. And we need those types of deals to get a Stanley Cup team in order, and that's what we're trying to do.
With the PD contract, like everyone's not upset, but everyone always says, "Oh, you got to go long term." But it's just he's a smart guy. He knows what he's worth, and he knows that the salary cap likely isn't going up for 2 years. So the end of his bridge deal, he's just due for another big raise because he's not gonna underperform for this contract. He's gonna crush it, and he knows that, you know, when it's time to re-up. And he said he wants to be part of a winner, right? So this like starting right now is our window to show that the Canucks can win. Or I wouldn't be too surprised if he walks. Like,
and that's,
if we miss the playoffs 3 years in a row, like Petey's probably out of here.
Yeah, 100%. And I wouldn't blame him, honestly. I feel like we have the squad to do it. So. And I feel like he hasn't shown his full potential yet.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like he went with a 3-year deal. It was really just to show the management, this is my potential. I'll show it to you guys, and then I'm due for a big raise.
Yeah. And with Quinn Hughes, I love getting him locked up for 6 years at under 8.
That's a steal.
And you look at the two comparables to him, right? It's always Makar and Heiskanen from Dallas, and both those guys got 9+, right? So to have, like, yeah, maybe their defensive games are more well-rounded, but the offensive numbers that Hughes puts up is kind of in a league of his own. Makar is up there, but just look at the guys Makar plays with, right? He's got a top 3 player.
Star-studded lineup.
One of the best lineup, like, first lines in hockey. And, you know what I mean? And Heiskanen's great, too, because he plays in Dallas with a lot of guys that might be a little bit past their prime. And Jamie Benn, but
yeah,
all 3 of those guys are great. But it's just to have Hughes under $8 million for 6 years, I think is crazy.
That's huge.
Yeah. So with the biggest news out of the way, we will go over some preseason games now because hockey is back. It's preseason hockey, but it's hockey nonetheless. So first up, we have the first ever game against the Seattle Kraken. So this was the Canucks at Seattle, well, in Spokane, I guess. So it was in an AHL arena where the Spokane Chiefs play. And one of the things in my notes here, I made a note that like the crowd was into it. Like they were all game. Like the Canucks scored 2 goals pretty early. The crowd was never out of it for a second. They were like it was a playoff game almost. So that was really cool to see.
Fun to see. Yeah.
So I think that just translates to that. The Kraken fans will be pretty into it all year. So a couple of things. Well, I got a lot of notes here. Before the game, the biggest thing I was interested to see was Brad Hunt, Olli Juolevi, and Jack Rathbone were all playing. And that's kind of the battle for that third pairing D spot, right? So all 3 of those guys were going. So that's interesting that they were letting them all roll. I was also looking forward to seeing Nick Patan, Phil DiGiuseppe, who I'm just going to call DG from now on because I'm not putting in the effort to say that name every time. Jason Dickinson, Klimovich, Lockwood, and Silvos, who I made a note in my book here that it's Silvos because I keep wanting to call him Slavos. So those were the guys that I wanted to see. It was an interesting lineup selection. I was expecting to see a couple more regulars. It was really like Brock, Dickinson, and Hoglander were kind of the 3 big ones. So it was interesting to see that it was a more AHL lineup. A big thing too with that 4th line spot being open. DiGiuseppe and Highmore were both killing penalties. I think they were both on the first unit power play or penalty kill. Yeah. Because they were trying Highmore at center a little bit too. So that's kind of an interesting thing to see, especially like with Sutter being out. Yeah. And we don't know, like there's nothing on him really. He's just fatigued is kind of the only thing we know. So to see who's going to be the 4th line center now.
There's kind of a battle there.
Yeah. So DiGiuseppe, I like his game a lot actually. We'll get to that later, but yeah, it was interesting that they had both those guys killing penalties. Rathbone had a shaky start, but man, did he look good that game. Scored a nice goal after he took a penalty. Penalty kind of wasn't his fault. He got set, like it was a bad breakout pass, I think, which kind of led to him taking a penalty.
Which, while we're on Rathbone quickly, I just wanted to mention that Justin in his picks had Rathbone at 4 goals for 82 games. Yeah. And he just happened to score in the very first game of the preseason. So I think he's going to be closer to my goal benchmark, but we'll see. I just had to... Because 4 goals for him is a little bit low, but I understand where that's coming from because we don't need him to score goals. But I have high expectations for Rathbone.
That's also a little bit high for me, so we'll see what happens.
100%.
He had a nice setup to Besser, too. Besser scored a nice goal.
Yes, sir.
The Rathbone speed stood out to me too. I thought he was skating really well, and he was faster than I remembered from last season, so that's good to see. Another thing I have noted here, Klimovich and Rathbone were both getting some power play 1 time. Klimovich, he didn't like stand out, but he didn't look really out of place. He just kind of had a game. There was nothing really noticeable, or I don't have anything noted here other than he was getting power play 1 time. Well, this leads into this next one. I have vintage 1-timer from Brock Besser on the power play. Not his best shot. It definitely kind of
flopped in.
Yeah, bounced off something.
Bit of a weird one, but I mean, at the end of the day, it went in the net. So.
Yeah. So I had a good first period. For me, the standouts were definitely Silvos. I thought he was really solid, especially for like I think he played some preseason games last year. I don't remember off the top of my head, but he just looked calm. He wasn't didn't seem like he was in over his head.
Not panicking with the puck and
and with the crowd being as lively as they were, he was solid. Rathbone stood out to me. DiGiuseppe won a ton of battles. Like that's one thing I have noted here. Like any puck battles or board battles or anything like that. So I was definitely impressed with him. I liked his game a lot. He's kind of my front runner for that 4th line. Well, actually, I don't know. We'll get back to it.
Yeah.
For the second period, in my notes here, I just have it was all Kraken, like 85%. It was not a great second period. They scored a bunch of goals. The crowd got real into it.
But I mean, look at the lineup differences too, right? Like, look at the amount of NHL players that played in that game for Kraken, and then the amount of NHL players that actually played in that game for us. I think For us, it was more of just a feeler out, kind of give those guys the experience to play against real NHLers and let them know where they're at.
Absolutely.
So
This was definitely...
I didn't expect a ton out of that game, to be honest.
Yeah, it was definitely not a starting Canucks lineup, for sure. Hoglander scored a goal. It was a good battle in front of the net that he got from a Burrows point shot. It's weird seeing a new Burrows on defense.
Yeah.
It's especially because it's spelled weird. But yeah, it was a good goal from Hog. He fought hard in front of the net, which is nice to see from a smaller guy like that. Like same old Hog. He's not scared to go up against bigger guys. He just went in, won a battle, scored a nice goal. There was a horrendous goal from the Kraken, where as much as I was praising it, no, it wasn't Silvos. It was the Spencer Martin was in net for the third, and just the Kraken got a shot on net off the face-off, and he wasn't set, and it bounced off Olli Juolevi and went in, but it was just, that was a big killer.
Bad goal, yeah.
It's preseason, so I mean it doesn't really matter, but
yeah,
stuff you wouldn't really want to see anytime.
Especially when you're battling for the position in the lineup.
I thought Spencer Martin looked shaky all third period, so take what you will out of that. It's hard to judge, right? Like getting thrown into the third period of a preseason game against a fairly what you would expect to be the majority of the Seattle Kraken roster. So, but yeah, after the first game against Seattle, I have the standouts as DG, Rathbone, and Silvos just for their first periods. Most of the Canucks didn't have a great second or third, so but it was a mostly a rookie squad here. So but yeah, the Seattle Kraken won this one 5-3. It was the first time the Kraken hit the ice in any kind of fashion as a team competing against another team. So that was kind of cool to see. One thing, the Kraken jerseys I really like, especially their dark ones. I don't remember if those are the home or away, except for the light blue stripe on the arm. I wish it was the solid darker blue. To me, I think that would look a lot nicer, but I do like those Kraken jerseys a lot. Yeah,
and like for me, I'm a fan of the home jersey, not a big fan of the away jersey. That's just kind of how it goes, though.
Yeah. And yeah, this game was September 26th of 2021. So yeah, first Kraken game. It was cool to be a part of.
Now the second game, I have some notes on. The second game was a lot more. There's more things to take away from it.
Yeah, this was
for us, right? As Vancouver Canucks fans, we got to see OEL in action, and we got to see Connor Garland in action, and they both had a pretty good.
Interested to see Podkolzin, Garland, Big Mac, OEL, Pullman, Rathbone again, Juolevi, Jet Wu, and Jona Gadjevich. I was looking forward to watching them play.
And Gadjevich had a good game too.
We will get to Jona Gadjevich, my friend.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we had a goal from Connor Garland, assisted by OEL, very early in the first. So that was nice to see. We'll just talk about OEL right now. Right? This wasn't a preseason game for him. He was out to show Canucks fans that he's still a good player.
He's legit.
He was way more physical than I thought. He looked quicker than I remember him ever being in Arizona. Probably just because it was a preseason game and he was given it. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, he had a good game, but it is just the preseason. He knew he had to do something like this just to get all those talks that he's in the decline and everything, right? He just wanted to move past that and show that he's a good player.
And I'm glad that they played him and Garland together because obviously they still have some chem there, so it was good to see.
Yeah, it was a good goal. And it's nice for Garland to get rolling too, right? Like, let's not let that snowball into when I'm going to get my first goal.
You've seen his celly on that goal too. Like, he didn't take that lightly. He felt great about getting that goal, and it's a big motivator for him.
And you know what? That is one thing I had noted here too. Just every goal in the preseason, like, it was starting to bug me because guys were celebrating like it was a playoff goal. But then I was thinking it's the first time with fans in the building in like 2 years, so I kind of got over it. I was in the wrong there where I'm like, it was annoying me how they were celebrating preseason goals, but the first time with fans and like a reaction from the crowd when he scored and stuff too.
And so especially with Garland, first time as a Vancouver Canuck, scoring a goal and kind of proving to everyone, this is why you guys brought me in.
Scoring a goal very quickly.
Yeah.
Also, Garland was playing on a line with Miller and Podkolzin, which is kind of interesting. So they're still trying the JT Miller at center, which we'll talk about that later too, but
because of the penalties.
Yeah, and we'll see here too. So then we had a goal from, and I've heard different pronunciations on this guy's name, from, I believe it's Shane Waters is how you say it. But I've heard Wooters also, which is what I'm going to go with, because Wooters is a lot more fun to say. So it was a goal from Wooters, and it was a 2-on-1, and it was a great pass from Gadjevich. With the puck.
That's what I have in my notes as
Yeah,
well.
he was fast too. Like,
yeah.
You can tell his skating did pay off a lot, like his training this summer. And it was good poise with the puck. He held on to it. He didn't try and rush a pass. He got around the sliding Flames defenseman. And then kind of from behind the net, threw it back out in front. And
that's exactly what I had in my notes. I just loved his patience there. I loved how he didn't rush a pass. He waited till the last second to put the goalie out of position, because you have to commit to that first guy in case he shoots. Really waited out the defenseman so he wasn't in the way. Perfect pass across the crease, and beautiful goal.
Yeah, it was great play from Gadjevich. And then I also have, it was an awesome breakout pass from Rathbone that led to that goal too. So
yeah.
So it's nice to see him moving the puck and not getting hemmed in his zone defensively. So then to keep going with the Miller, Garland, Podkolzin line, they had a monster shift in the first period where they were just all over the ice and had the Flames like hemmed in. As far as I'm aware of, have never played together. Like, I know Podkolzin's never played with Miller or Garland, so it was interesting to see them have that shift right away and kind of show some early chemistry. So it's not a weird line, but a line I didn't expect at all.
And interesting.
Especially with Podkolzin, right? He's really given him a shot to, show me you're an NHLer kind of.
Yeah.
So it was good to see him standing out a little bit. We had a goal on the power play from JT Miller. It was just a good puck battle from Bo, led to a rebound. Bo took the puck to the net hard, and Miller basically had a tap in. So.
And that's the thing. I didn't even write a note on that goal because I just, that's what those guys do.
Yeah.
It was just typical fashion of them to score a goal like that in tight by the net. Just a quick little play. It was perfect. I didn't even feel I had to make a note on it just because that's what those guys are trained to do, and that's what they do best.
Yeah, so that was a vintage Bo Horvat power move that led to a goal, and that's, like you said, that's what they do.
Yeah.
So the second period to me, it was just a solid period of hockey. Nobody really stood out that much to me. I do have noted here that, I really like Jonah Gadjevich's game.
Me too.
He's just, you don't ever notice him defensively, which is not a bad thing because you're not picking out things he's doing wrong or he's not getting burned.
Yeah.
And he sticks out a handful of times a game offensively. So I think he's doing a lot of things right to earn a roster spot here. We'll see what happens. There's still a couple of preseason games left, but I haven't seen him. I haven't been yelling at him because he's way out of position in the defensive zone, and he's just making plays on offense all over the ice.
And I feel like coming into the season with Sutter out, Mott out, and I feel like there's a perfect position somewhere there for him.
Yeah.
I don't know who they're gonna slot in where, but I know that he'll probably start the season. I feel like he's good enough to start the season. So
yeah, we'll just talk about Gadjevich right now.
Yeah.
You know what? Right now I don't disagree with you. I really like his game. He's another one of those guys that just brings a physical element. That brings, Hoggs kind of brings, Miller brings, but none of them are big guys.
They don't have the size.
Yeah,
exactly.
Gadjevich and Mac are big.
Yeah.
And, when they hit you, you're going to feel it, right? Gadjevich is kind of this might be a shitty comparison, but he's kind of like Jake Virtanen, where he's just big, and very different, right? Because Jake is 25, 26, and he still looks like he's 18, whereas Gadjevich had a full man beard by the time he was drafted at 18.
Exactly.
So. But they're just, solid. Your fourth line, right? You're going to put out your your top guys in the defensive zone to win that face-off, get the puck, and key too to make a pass like that, right? Where you're not just thinking, let me just get a shot or let me try and flip the puck over this guy.
There was a lot of patience and poise in that.
Yeah, so. There was no panic from him. I feel like he knew what he was doing the entire time there. So I've been very impressed with Gadjevich. I've liked his game a lot.
Me too.
Podkolzin, another rookie that a lot of Canucks fans are interested in. I just have notes here, like he was engaged in all three zones. He looked like he was ready. He wasn't scared. He was physical. He was good defensively, offensively in the neutral zone. Like I just have it noted, like he looks NHL ready to me after this game here.
Yeah, he wasn't like a super standout, but he definitely didn't have any terrible breakdowns.
Yeah, he just had a solid game.
Yeah.
Which, that's the best thing you could ask for from a rookie, right? Like, don't have major glaring mistakes or holes in your game. Just play solid, and that's what he did.
Don't, like, tell him to overperform. Don't put that pressure on him. Yeah. Like, everyone just wants him to be solid with his two-way game, and that's what he did.
Yeah.
So
I agree with you. I have more notes on Gadjevich here. I just have that he drives the net hard. I've noticed him for the right reasons, and just very impressed. And again, like we don't really have those power forward kind of players. Like Hoglander is, like Pettersson said it best. He's a little power forward, which 100% is what he is. But Gadjevich could be that big power forward, and I know like Canucks fans have been waiting for that guy since Todd Bertuzzi left, right? Like we've just brought in like power forward after power forward, like Bernier, Jake, players like that.
Chance after chance after chance on Jake Virtanen, and he just never became his full form. Yeah. And it was frustrating. So now we've got a rookie that we could invest in, and he could potentially be that guy.
And it's kind of one of those things too, where saying that, I kind of hope that maybe Gadjevich does get a little run in the minors here too, right? Because all those other guys we've kind of rushed in, and maybe they didn't get the chance to develop, right? They always say like a power forward is like a defenseman, right? Where it just takes time for them to find their game and round it out playing that physical style of hockey. So maybe Gadge going back to the AHL would not be the worst thing, and let him kind of dominate there for a little bit, because he had a great season last season, but it's one of those things where it's hard to judge because the AHL was such a mess last year with COVID and everything. So wherever he winds up, I hope it's the right choice and we're not like ruining another power forward here. So just a note on that. Then lastly, we have a goal from Tanner Pearson. Just had a nice snipe on the rush.
This one I really wanted to talk about because I took a few shots at Tanner Pearson on the last one. I'm sorry, but I had to. I just felt like he wasn't putting the puck in the net, and when he was shooting, he was way too far out, like just not trying to make any plays in the zone. I just felt like his game wasn't in the right place. But OEL has a sick drop pass to him. Yeah. He has nothing but that corner to snipe at. He picks it perfectly. Attaboy Tanner Pearson.
Yeah,
give him his flowers because he deserves it.
That's another thing I have noted here. It was a great play from OEL to jump up on the rush and gain his own entry there. So nice to see that. Again, OEL had a solid game.
And first game with the team, and he already knows where Tanner Pearson is. He kind of sees him coming in. He doesn't even look. Beautiful drop pass, no look pass. I mean, it was absolutely perfect. That's exactly what we need out of OEL. So it was really, really nice to see that out of him as well. Yeah, and again, we're not getting too hyped up. It's preseason hockey, but it is nice to see him perform.
Yeah, like having some intensity to it, and knowing like just the awareness to recognize like there's a lot of pressure and talk around him this year. A lot of it is negative, so let's just go out and have a really good first game. Doesn't matter the situation, and that
really gets Canucks fans excited about him. You know what I mean? He had 2 great assists. Garland had that quick goal. Like, it just gets the Canucks fans behind these 2 guys so that they can come into this season with lots of cheers, and I think they're gonna have a great season.
And he was solid. Like, he was throwing good hits, which again, like, it's the Coyote. He was on the Coyotes, right? So nobody watches the Coyotes.
Besides Biz Nasty, Paul Bissonnette, salute.
So you don't really have a great sense of his game other than when he plays the Canucks, and his physicality really stood out to me. Like, another kind of weird comparison, but he reminded me a lot of Edler. Like, before the drop off, like, he just had a really solid game, put up a couple assists, and you know what I mean. You don't notice him making any glaring mistakes either. Just a couple nice plays, and once
in a while throws a big greasy hit in there, which we need.
And it was just all you could ask for OEL. So solid game there. Very, very happy with that one. 4-2 Canucks won that one. That was September 27th, 2021 in Abbotsford. First game. I don't know if it's a new barn. I don't think it is, but where the Abbotsford Canucks will be playing this year. So nice to set the tone right off the bat and get a win there. So on to Game 3 of the preseason. This was at Calgary. This was October 1st, 2021. My notes here, I wanted to watch Hunt, Podkolzin, Garland, DiGiuseppe, Dickinson, Big Mac, and Gadjevich again. Again, same thing. DiGiuseppe and Highmore were on the penalty kill, so that kind of seems to be a trend. So maybe that's an indicator of where Green might be going with that fourth line. Like, let's talk about DiGiuseppe right now too. I've really liked his game. He's a very intense player without you really noticing it. Like, if that makes sense. Like,
he's not like a super standout guy, but when you focus on him, you realize how hard he's actually playing.
Yeah, he wins a lot of battles. He's been good on the penalty kills, and that's obviously with Mott out, with Sutter out.
We need that.
Yeah, that's maybe your penalty kill one right there. So to have a guy that's standing out is good. I think he's a pretty safe lock for a fourth line role. He's a good veteran guy. Like, I think he's turning 28 right away. So he's not a kid that you have to worry about a little bit. He's got 200 games in the NHL.
He's got experience.
Yeah, and I think he can fit in, and he's got some skill too. So he's not just a guy out there to penalty kill. He can play fourth line minutes. He's got good speed. I think he would fit in well with Tyler Mott. Like, it would give Mott somebody to play with. And Mott is a very underrated player, I think. Like,
100%.
When he comes back, he puts up good numbers for a fourth liner. He creates a lot of chances. He disrupts a lot of plays in the defensive zone. And, you kind of want to give him more than Brandon Sutter to play with, because Sutter can shoot the puck, but he's slow and he's not a great passer. And, Mott can only score so many breakaway goals a year.
That's the thing. I think his points go up if he's not on that line, but really, like, that just might be where he's placed, especially with the injuries, stuff like that. Like,
and with the depth we have here, like, I think Mott could be a good third liner, but he's a great fourth liner.
Exactly.
So it'd be nice to give him another kind of defensive minded forward with some skill to play with. So just to see what that fourth line could really do, right? Because the NHL now is a 4-line league.
You have to produce.
100%. You can't have a fourth line that's just guys that are there to hit, play 5 minutes a night, and get in a fight or two. Like, everybody has to be able to play in the league right now. So another thing I have noted here, so there was a big hit from Zadorov on Dickinson, I believe. Got him pretty good.
Got a response out of it, too.
Yeah, that's the thing I have noted here. He was challenged by McEwen and Luke Shen, which led to a Flames goal immediately, but it's nice to see that engagement from both those guys, because we've been missing that a lot too. Like, there's not a lot of like pushback really in a physical sense from that. Like, when he laid a big hit, it's just a preseason tour, right? And guys are trying to win jobs, but it's still nice to see, because we've been, like, you look at the 2 PD injuries from his rookie year, like, the ones that both of them were behind the play, really weird, so nobody really saw it, but nobody like stood up for him.
There was not a big response even in prior games leading up after that. Like, there should have been a way bigger response because of that. And Dickinson's a new player, and you've seen the way that those two guys stood up for him, and I felt like that was the right thing to do. And I liked that once Big Mac kind of saw, like, okay, Luke's going to handle this, he tried to get back up into play. It was a little bit too late, but I mean, at least he realized, okay, we got a guy who's going to handle this. It doesn't have to be me.
Yeah.
And I just like that both guys were willing to do the job there. So
yeah, I like seeing them stand up for their teammate after he gets hit. It was just unfortunate that it led to a goal, and like, so quickly. Like, the hit happened, he was challenged, then the Flames scored.
Yeah, because we were down 2 Canucks.
Yeah. But yeah, again, it's just that, like, 2 guys trying to win a roster spot, but showing that they're willing to play that kind of the hard brand of hockey where you're getting punched in the face for a living.
And that's the thing with those 2 guys too. They've both shown it multiple times. I don't think either of them needed to show that, but I think they're both more than willing to show that and show, like, hey, you're not going to hit guys out here like that when I'm on the ice, and that's big for our team. And
then our boy again, Jonah Gadjevich. I keep saying Jonah like he's Jonah Gadjevich. Yeah. Scored a goal. Like, he went right to the front of the net, tipped in a shot from Olio Levy, and just keeps doing those, like, small things that are, like, adding up. And it was a beauty. Yeah. And that's why I feel like he's NHL ready. I don't feel like he needs to get sent down. It's kind of like Podkolzin and how he said, like, I'm ready now. Like, put me in. I feel like Gadjevich is ready. Just give him that opportunity and see how he does. Yeah. See, and my biggest thing with that, if he's on the 4th line, right, he's not going to play a ton. If he's in the AHL, if he's playing in Abbotsford, he's probably on the first line or second 100%. Line, right? Like, he's getting a ton of minutes, ton of experience, and then he comes in even better. But I just feel like he adds a little bit more depth, especially in the scoring aspect, and we could use that. So yeah, it'll be. I would like him to play all 3 remaining preseason games, and let's really see get a good look at him. Like, especially conditioning wise, it'll start to take a toll a little bit too, right? Like, maybe he's just got some jump now, but yeah, he's definitely a player to keep an eye on. Yeah. Tyler Meyer stood out to me in this game too. He had a couple really nice plays in the neutral zone to pick off some passes. He's always decent, like, offensively, and he didn't really stand out to me defensively, which is a good thing for Myers. He usually, like last season, he had some big breakdowns and, like, just way out of position, letting guys get in on a 2-on-1, and I mean, that's just unacceptable. So. And then this was another thing I was actually thinking of on the way over here. With Myers, he's almost like an in-betweener as far as, like, offensive and defensive go, and with what we have, right? You hear you want Quinn Hughes to play with, like, a Travis Hamnick or a Chris Tanev, like a more defensive-minded guy, right? Yep. Then you have Rathbone, who you want to pair the same thing with, like, a more defensive player. Yep. Then you have the OEL Pullman combo, which looks like they're aligned. They're cemented. Yeah. So, and Myers is kind of an in-between, right? Because maybe Rathbone, Quinn Hughes is definitely better offensively. Mm-hmm. Maybe Rathbone is. He's at the 2 stages of their careers, like, he's definitely got more upside. So you almost need a defensive player to pair with Myers, but we don't really, just with the defenseman mix we have now, we don't really have that option, right? We have a lot of offensive guys already, and we don't need any more. We need defensive guys. And Myers, I liked how he was kind of walking into the zone and trying to make plays, stuff like that. I like to see that out of him. But we definitely need a more defensive-minded guy with him if he's going to play like that. Yeah, and it's just a balance we don't quite have, right? Because you can't, as kind of as fun as it would be, you can't play Rathbone and Hughes together, right? Because they're just... Yeah, Rathbone's too young. Yeah, he can't be with Hughes yet, and maybe in the future, but just right now, that's not a good pairing. If both those guys kind of can round out their game to where they're solid defensively, like, that would definitely be a really fun pairing. But yeah, Myers is just, like, he's on the squad because he makes too much money, but he's almost like an odd man out, right? Like, you know, like, hopefully you see more from him that year, like this season. Like, I love his neutral zone game, that game. He just, like I said, he was picking off passes, and maybe that's just how he has to do it, right? Let's keep him out of his defensive zone, make those smart reads, and get back on offense, because that's where he's most effective. Like, and he's not our... That's where he's most effective, but he's not our most effective defenseman that. So. For sure, and I don't feel like he's worth quite $6 million, but I mean, he's showing more upside to this season than last season, which is good. Yeah, and it's one of those things where you kind of know what he is. It's just hopefully he's just like a little bit better defensively is what you need from him. If he could pot a few more goals along the way as well, that's exactly what we're looking for out of him. So. Yeah. There was a scrap in this game, Big Mac versus Eric Gudbranson. Gudbranson kind of got the better of him on this one, but he's not a small guy, so it was good on Zach for taking the fight. It was he got hit, he got rocked by one of the Flames. I think it might have been Zadorov again, but yeah, he got up and was pissed and dropped the mitts with Gudbranson, and Gabranson got tossed for what's that thing before instigating because he dropped his gloves before McEwen. It was kind of a non-option fight for McEwen. So but yeah, it was a good scrap from those two guys. It was in my notes here. It was just a horrendous last 10 minutes from Vancouver. They couldn't get anything going. Just playing in the defensive zone. Yeah.
For me, I didn't even write notes on this game just because I felt like there wasn't much to talk about, especially in that third period. I was pretty disappointed, but I mean, at the same time, still not a ton of NHL guys in the lineup. I mean, you can't expect too much. You're kind of just letting the young guys feel it out. So.
Yeah, still preseason, nothing to panic about, but it was just a bad 10 minutes in general.
Yeah, 100%.
My last thing I have of note here, Sutter, the Flames head coach, does not know how to wear a fucking mask, and it was driving me crazy all game. The guy had it down by his chin all game, and the straps were under his ears,
just annoying.
I know nobody wants to wear it, but fuck, man, it just was driving me crazy all game for whatever reason. So I just wanted to put that in my notes here.
Definitely got a comment on it.
Yeah, enough to get my attention anyway. So yeah, now let's go over some. So far, the first episode we talked about Lockwood, DiGiuseppe, Gadjevich, and Klimovich kind of battling it out for a fourth line spot. In my mind, Lockwood and Klimovich, are not really. They're destined for the AHL. Klimovich has not. He's played the first game, and you haven't seen anything from him yet. But
I feel the same way.
And not to be negative about the guy, he just didn't really stand out to catch your attention to be like, I've earned a roster spot.
That's the thing. This is your opportunity to show where your game's at, and I just feel like he didn't show too much. So.
Yeah, but he wasn't bad. It's just the best thing for him would be to go down to the minors and have a good year and just keep developing. He's definitely started at a good point, right, where he looks like if we needed him to play, he could, and he wouldn't get his head caved in all the season. But he's just not there yet. That's just a little too much pressure to ask for him.
That's the thing. When there's guys like Gadjevich that are really standing out, it kind of puts you even further back in the lineup. Yeah. You know what I mean? For me, I really hope Gadjevich gets a spot in the lineup. I'd like to see him next.
Yeah, and then Will Lockwood, same thing, just hasn't really stood out that much. He hasn't been bad either, but send him to AHL, let him have a season or two there and just keep developing. So yeah, I think DiGiuseppe is definitely on the team. It's Rathbone's spot to lose, the Olio-Levy's, but it's Jack's spot.
Yeah.
Olio-Levy we'll talk about too. His conditioning was definitely a question mark. It's after the bag skate, but he does certain things really well on the ice, where you always see that potential and you see why he was a high pick. He just has to be consistent in it. He's kind of slow when he pivots a little bit, which is almost a killer for a defenseman in the NHL, right? If you can't turn around and get going, you're going to get burned all day because it's just such a fast league.
Yeah.
Especially the division we play in, right? You have Connor McDavid, the Johnny Gaudreau, just quick players like that.
You have to be a strong skater when you're going up against guys like that. But he does seem pretty good positionally, even though he is bad in those transitions. He seems like he's kind of always in a good spot.
He's a really smart hockey player. We got to get him there physically. So
yeah.
It's a tough one, right? Because if you put him on waivers, I could definitely see him getting snatched.
He will.
But what do you do with him? You know what I mean? You can't have him as your 7th or 8th guy, with Luke Shen there.
Yeah.
And I guess that brings up the Travis Hamnick situation too. We're not going to speculate because that's a personal matter. The team's said that, so we're not going to go into any of that. We're just going to talk about not having him. So if you don't have Hamnick, does that
that opens up a spot?
But does that instantly throw Shen up there with Hughes?
And then that's what I was going to comment on as well, because we did see Shen with Hughes when he played on the team previously, and I really liked it, honestly, because it's a guy that'll stick up for Quinn Hughes.
Yeah.
It keeps those goons off of him, and I'd really like to see that if he does end up taking that spot. It's just we aren't expecting too much besides that out of Luke Schenn, which we could probably fill that spot with a player who has a little bit more potential right now.
See, but here's the thing with that, though. Like, when Luke Schenn did play with Quinn Hughes, that was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Quinn Hughes was not our
number one guy.
defenseman. Like, this would be Schenn playing like 20 minutes a night. Like, coming from a Tampa Bay team where he was a seventh defenseman. Like,
that's the thing.
I don't think that's the best pairing, but what else do you do? Like, you gotta wait to see.
We've got young defensemen right now, and you can't put a young guy with Quinn Hughes. It's just not gonna work.
Yeah, and then if Travis Hamnick isn't here all year, like, you know what I mean? Like, you're gonna see Schenn and Juolevi like rotate in, and it's gonna make weird pairings, right? Especially if you don't split the OEL Pullman. Like, Myers is gonna be all over the place. Like, you're gonna have like Rathbone, Hughes, Juolevi, Hughes, any kind of combination of those three younger defensemen. Like, it's
and that's the thing. I feel like if Travis Hamnick doesn't come in, maybe that OEL Pullman pairing isn't so solidified.
You almost have to split it up.
They're two experienced guys that could play with a rookie and really show them how it's done. So
we have too many like younger defensemen right now too. So it's just Hamnick not being there could be a big game changer this season. There are going to be lots of guys on waivers with teams getting their rosters down a size for the start of the regular season. So there's claims you could make and stuff like that to fill that void, but you're not going to get a top pairing defenseman on waivers.
No.
So it's a big hole to fill right now. There's no speculation whether he's going to miss the whole year or not or anything like that. So this is just
for now.
Us thinking of it from a roster standpoint, like what happens there and like how do you replace that? Like, even then, I think maybe asking 20 minutes a night on Travis Hamnick is a little much at this point in his career, but he seems more fitted to do it than Luke Schenn or Olli Juolevi.
Yeah.
But that's just an interesting talking point that we should bring up. So that'll be definitely interesting to see what they do there. And like, does that make a spot for Brad Hunt, who's like just been solid, but again, not really standing out, and a smaller guy, which we have.
We have small guys.
So it'll be interesting to see how things progress with that. We'll talk about the Brock Besser injury too. Did Green say what it was?
There's no comment on lower body, upper body. They just said potentially out for a week, which means it's probably just something that's sore. Hopefully we see him back in action soon. I think they're just going to say enough with the preseason for Brock Besser. Let's put him in real gameplay.
I'd like to see the last game of the preseason, like, give me a fairly full NHL roster and, give me Brock, Miller, and Petey and let them get a game together to kind of get that chemistry flowing.
Get in the swing.
But yeah, just a little note there. So hopefully Brock is...
Get better soon, Brock.
Yeah, nothing serious, and he's back teaching you how to snipe. So yeah, I think that pretty much sums up everything we want to go over this week.
Yeah.
Unless there's anything I missed that you got.
Nope, but I also did want to just once again say thank you to everyone that listened on the last one. We really appreciate the support, and keep tuning in because it's only going to get better from here. The camera quality, the mic quality, everything. We're going to have the studio set up soon. So
there's some good feedback.
100%. So thank you guys very much for that. And another quick tip. I don't know if you guys seen this poncho. But come on now, like, that thing's unreal. Got to give him some props for that. So thanks for wearing that today.
So before we wrap up here, we are on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify now. We're on Google Chrome. We're on like the Google Podcast thing. I don't know how that happened. I didn't
we got thrown
there,
on there.
So you can find us there if you just want the audio version of the podcasts, and on YouTube, like always. So make sure you go check us out there if you like listening to podcasts. And if you like watching us, then you know where to find us because you're there.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, guys. And like, share, and subscribe. I know you didn't want me to say it,
no,
but we're saying it this time because we need the support. So thank you guys very much. And we'll end it with a big fist bump.
All the YouTube.